All right. Thanks so much, Lisa. You know, you make a good case here for doing Johnny Dollar first. And I'll tell you what, we will go ahead and we'll try it out, not after we finish Nightmare for Night. So this week and next week we'll continue with the order we've been doing it in. So Nightmare for Night first, then Johnny Dollar. But then in a couple weeks we'll go ahead and we will try Johnny Dollar first, and then whatever the next serial is, and we'll try that out for 4 weeks, and we'll see how that goes, and see how it works for listeners, see how it works for me as a host, and so thank you so much, Lisa, and listen for Johnny Dollar first, 2 weeks from this coming Friday. So this week and next week we'll order. The week after that we'll try Johnny Dollar first. All right, well, now on to listener comments and feedback from our Facebook page, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. Raymond comments, listen to and from work. Good thing you break it up over the week, or I'd be sitting in my driveway for an hour listening to hear the outcome regarding Johnny Dollar. Well, that's definitely a good case for breaking it up into 3 different days. We definitely have to keep as many people in the workforce as we can. So thank you, Raymond. Sean says Johnny Dollar is my favorite, and David said Bob Bailey is always a favorite. All right, well, that'll do it for today. Join us back here for the Big Guy, and on Wednesday we continue with yours truly, Johnny Dollar. In the meanwhile, send your comments to box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives, and be sure and fill out our listener survey, survey.greatdetectives.net. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Johnny Dollar.
George Atkins at Northwest Indemnity.
Oh, hiya, Georgie.
How'd you like to go to New York, Johnny, and get into the gay, mad world of the theater?
Thanks a lot, Georgie, but no thanks. I'm not the grease paint type.
I know, but Amy Bradshaw is.
Amy Bradshaw?
Yeah, we wrote a policy on her a couple of years ago.
Look, if it's her autograph you want, why send me?
It's not that simple. Anyhow, she's got all the fans she wants.
I know. I'm one of them. I think she's great.
Johnny, looks like somebody's trying to kill her.
Georgie, I'll be right over.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Northwestern Indemnity Alliance, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Amy Bradshaw matter. Expense account item 1, $16.50. Transportation and incidentals to New York City. I checked in at a hotel and then went over to the Criterion Theater on West 44th, where Amy was starring in a play called The Unguarded Hour. David Coleman, the director, was standing in the wings watching the third act on stage. David Coleman?
Yes?
I'm Johnny Dollar, insurance investigator, sent over by Northwestern Indemnity.
Oh, yes, Mr. Dollar. I called them. Let's go over here where we can talk.
Okay. How's the play going?
Well, 22 weeks now. Been going along just fine until this business came up.
How did it start?
Last evening, just before curtain time, I dropped by Amy's dressing room. She looked, well, strange.
How so?
Pale, trembling. She was staring at a note in her hand that sounded like some sort of crank note. You know, you are an evil woman. You will be punished by sudden death, unquote.
Have you reported this to the police?
Oh, no. I was afraid that if I did, it might get into the papers, and we don't want that kind of publicity.
I see. How about if I talk to Amy after the show?
I told her you'd be down, and she'll talk to you.
Oh, good. Well...
Mr. Dollar, the strain of this whole thing's beginning to show up in her performance. She's making mistakes, and it rattles the cast, especially the young ingenue, Sheila Mitchell.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll see what I can do. There's always the possibility that it is just a crank note and that Amy will never hear any more of it.
Well, that's what I'm hoping.
But we might as well face another possibility. That somebody close to Amy is using the crank note as a cover. Has that thought ever occurred to you?
Why, no. No, it hasn't, Mr. Dollar.
We will continue with the Bradshaw matter in a moment.
I waited for Amy Bradshaw in her dressing room at the theater. 15 minutes later, after the final curtain, she swept in.
Oh, there you are, Mr. Dollar.
I'd never seen her from closer than the 15th row before, and needless to say, I was impressed. But I didn't have a chance to say so.
Did you think the second act
I didn't have a chance to say anything.
Oh, well, that's the way it goes. If you'll just give me a minute to get some of this makeup off.
Now?
Now.
Hi.
Hi.
I knew it was only a question of time until you ran down.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I get a little overcharged out on the stage.
Sure.
Listen, it's nice meeting you, Mr. Dollar, and I know why you've come down here, but I think you're wasting your time.
Oh?
Yeah. This whole thing's really pretty silly, you know.
I hope so, Miss Bradshaw.
You mean Amy.
Okay, Amy. Say, look, how about having a drink with me somewhere? We can talk about it.
I'd love to, but I'm afraid I have a date tonight. Could we make it tomorrow, maybe?
Sure, okay, anytime.
Excuse me. Come in. Oh, Mike.
Oh, hello, Amy. I'm sorry, I didn't know you had company.
That's all right. This is Johnny Dollar. Johnny, Mike Pomeroy, my agent.
Mr. Pomeroy?
How are you?
What'd you think of it tonight, Mike?
Well, they seem to like it okay.
Oh.
Tell you what, Amy, I'll see you tomorrow, eh?
Tomorrow, Mike?
I've got a few things I got to take care of tonight. Contracts to go over, things like that.
Oh, of course.
Well, glad to meet you, Dollar. Night, Amy.
Is that offer of a drink still good, Johnny?
Well, sure, but I thought you said you have... Oh, sure, let's go.
Thanks for understanding.
Anywhere in particular?
There's a little place right down the street, small and quiet.
Good.
Oh.
What's the matter?
Would you mind if we crossed the stage and went out the other door?
Oh, no. Why?
I think someone's waiting for me outside this exit.
Oh.
Sort of a friend of mine, Porter Kane, but he can be a little wearing, and I'm rather tired.
Sure. I could see him through the open door. A thin-faced, rather elegant-looking man in a black Homburg. We went out the other side and down the street to a bar a few doors away. Item 2 on expense account, $4, drinks. After the first one, Amy relaxed a little. I wanted to get her talking about herself, and it wasn't too tough to do.
There's not really much to tell about me. I've been acting a long time. Sometimes it seems too long. I've come a long way. Some people would say up. I hope it is.
You make it sound pretty simple, Amy.
I guess we do what we have to. All of us. I had to act, so...
So, just like that, huh?
Just like that.
You've always gotten everything you wanted, haven't you?
I think so.
Hasn't anyone ever gotten in your way?
No, Johnny, that's never happened. If it did...
It looks to me like somebody's standing in your way right now.
What do you mean?
That threatening letter you got the other day.
I told you, the whole thing's silly. There's nothing to it.
Now, that's what you told me, but I don't think you believe it.
Okay. So maybe I have worried a little about it. I wouldn't have if it hadn't been for... Oh, it was probably only my imagination.
What was, Amy?
Well, last night after the show, I felt like walking a little. I went west on 44th Street to Times Square, and as usual, it was crowded. I stood on the curb waiting for the light to change, and suddenly I got shoved out into the street.
Oh?
Right out into the traffic. I jumped back just in time.
You see who did it?
How can you tell in a crowd like that?
I know.
It was probably only coincidence that it happened right after I got that note, but... Oh, Johnny, I still just can't believe anybody's really trying to do me harm, but... I guess what's been making me nervous during the performance is staring out at that blackness past the footlights. Wondering if there's somebody out there who hates me.
Uh-huh.
I guess I can't stand being hated, Johnny. I've got to be loved.
Look, Amy, did it ever occur to you this might not be a crank out in the audience, that it might be someone closer to you?
What? Johnny, that's impossible.
Isn't?
I don't have many friends. They've mostly to do with the play, but those I have are good ones.
Who else besides your agent, Pomeroy? How about the director?
David Coleman, he's a very old friend and one of the best.
How about the producer?
Emery's the last person in the world who'd wish me harm. On a dollars and cents basis, if nothing else. He and Dora both.
Dora?
His wife. I like her very much.
Does she like you?
Why shouldn't she?
What about this man you wanted to duck tonight, the one who was waiting outside the theater?
Porter Kane? Oh, he's just sort of a fan, I guess. A little eccentric, maybe, but he's been very good to me. Johnny, really, it couldn't be any of them.
Maybe, maybe not. Look, Amy, I was sent down here because Northwestern Indemnity holds a policy on you.
I know.
Now, who's the beneficiary?
William York.
Who's he?
My husband.
Oh. I didn't know you were married.
We separated 6 months ago. What I wanted, he didn't. What he wanted, I didn't. It's as simple as that.
Well, where is he now?
Here in New York somewhere, I guess. I don't know. He's a writer, sort of. Johnny, I'm tired.
Oh, yeah, sure you must be. I'm sorry I kept you so long.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that. It's been nice. Very nice. It's funny. I seem to relax a little when I'm with you.
We let that one lay and went outside. Item 3 on expense account, $2, taxi to Amy's apartment. There was a car parked 2 doors down with a man just sitting in it. I saw Amy give it a quick look. Then as she said goodnight to me at the door, I noticed that she slipped the catch on it. I sauntered across the street and stepped into the shadows. A moment later, the door of the parked car opened and her agent, Mike Pomeroy, got out and went into the apartment house. Then I realized I wasn't the only one watching this. Half a block down the street, I could see a figure in a shadowy doorway. I ran toward him, but he took off around the corner. When I reached the corner, he was nowhere in sight. Amy might have been taking this thing only half seriously, but I was real serious about it now. She said she had some very nice friends. But I had a strong hunch that one of these very nice friends was out to kill her.
Johnny Dollar will be back in a moment to tell you about tomorrow's episode.
Johnny Dollar.
Al Cintella down at precinct headquarters, Johnny.
Oh, hi, Al.
Sorry I missed your call a few minutes ago. What's on your mind?
An actress named Amy Bradshaw.
Amy? One of my favorites.
Me too. But right now I seem to be looking for a guy who doesn't feel that way about her.
Huh?
Al, it looks like somebody's trying to kill Amy Bradshaw.
Better come down here and tell me all about it.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. Location, New York City. To the Northwestern Indemnity Alliance, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Amy Bradshaw matter. The threat of an attempt on her well-insured life. Expense account item 5, $1.75. Cab from my hotel to precinct headquarters to talk to Detective Lieutenant Al Cintella. Al looked about the same as the last time I'd seen him. Rugged, competent, maybe a few pounds heavier.
Sit down, Johnny. Sit down.
Thanks.
Something about Amy Bradshaw, you said.
Yeah.
Didn't know you were a friend of hers.
Northwestern Indemnity holds a $25,000 life insurance policy on her. Here, take a look at this note. Amy got it several days ago.
You are evil. You will be punished by sudden death. Oh, come on now, Johnny.
A couple of nights ago, after the show, somebody shoved Amy off the curb and out into the traffic over in Times Square.
Well, the same thing happens to me almost every time I'm around Times Square. You know what I smell in all this?
Oh, sure. You probably smell a publicity stunt.
I sure do.
You think I'd fall for a thing like that?
You known Amy Bradshaw very long?
No. I'd seen her in a few shows, but last night was the first time I'd ever met her in person.
If I didn't know you pretty well, I'd say you might be getting a little stage struck on her.
Uh-huh. What about the man who trailed Amy to her apartment last night?
Oh? Who?
I don't know. I chased him, but he had too much of a lead on me.
I still wouldn't go jumping to any conclusions. Who you got to work on, for instance?
Well, for one, David Coleman, her director. Then there's the producer, Emery Taylor, and his wife, Dora. From what Amy said, I gather Dora doesn't like her very well.
Anybody else?
And there's her agent, Mike Pomeroy. She seems to be pretty wrapped up in him.
Old stableful, huh?
Yeah, looks like it. Also, a fellow named Porter Kane, who's usually hanging around the theater waiting for Amy. And finally, the man I really came to talk to you about.
Who's that?
Name is Bill York, her husband, but they're separated.
Oh?
She doesn't know where he is.
You figure he might tie in somehow?
He is the beneficiary of Amy's insurance policy.
Well, I'll see if I can turn up an address on him for you.
Okay, thanks, Al. In the meantime, I think I'll pay a call on this Porter Kane. See if I can find out just how good a fan he is.
We will continue with the Bradshaw matter in a moment.
Expense account item 6, 225. Cab to the apartment of Porter Kane in the East 70s. It was an expensive-looking place. I got there about noon, but Porter Kane was just finishing breakfast, accompanied by Chopin.
May I offer you a cup of coffee, Mr. Dollar?
Oh, thanks. A blind, please.
Yes. Now, you came to see me about Amy Bradshaw, I believe.
That's right, Mr. Kane. I represent Northwestern Indemnity Alliance. They hold a policy on Miss Bradshaw.
You perhaps want some sort of character reference on her?
You, might put it that way.
Well, in that case, you couldn't have come to one better qualified than I. You see, Amy is my career at present.
Afraid I don't understand, Mr. Kane.
Well, some years ago, I was relieved of the sordid but customarily necessary task of working for my bread and butter. The result is that I've been able to devote myself to a fascinating hobby.
What kind of a hobby?
I collect things.
Oh?
The objects of my interest vary, but they all have one thing in common.
Oh?
This signet ring I'm wearing, for instance.
Yes, I noticed it. Very unusual.
The crest is that of the Medici family, Renaissance Italy. The only ring of its kind in the world, so far as any of the authorities on that period are aware. That vase on the table, the painting on the wall, that sculpture.
One of a kind, huh?
Precisely. Which brings us quite logically to Amy, who is clearly one of a kind.
So?
So I plan to add Amy to my collection.
Just like that, huh?
I'm certain Amy will see it my way in time. And I have time. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must dress for the matinee. Will I see you again, Mr. Dollar?
Yes. You probably will, Mr. Kane. I was glad to get out of the hothouse atmosphere of Kane's apartment. Real weird, this character. And I had a hunch I'd better keep an eye on him. Item 7, $1.65. Cab fare that evening to the Criterion Theater. I arrived half an hour before curtain time and headed for Amy's dressing room. Then, as I approached her door...
You listen real careful. I'll give it to you once again. You've been tossing wrong cues to Sheila for 3 nights now. You've been doing everything you can to upstage her and make her look bad.
Mike, it's just that I've been nervous lately. Maybe I have made a few mistakes in my life.
Amy, you know I've got plans for Sheila, and I don't want her looking bad in this play.
You've got plans for Sheila. What about us?
Amy, we can talk about that some other time. But for now, I just want you to understand. You're to lay off Sheila. I mean it.
Is that a threat, Mike?
Take it any way you like.
It sounded like Pomeroy was coming outside, so I ducked around behind a piece of scenery and waited a moment. Then I went back to Amy's door.
Oh, Johnny.
Hello, Amy. You look tired.
I am. I just had a little go-around with Mike.
Pomeroy?
Uh-huh. I've been fluffing some of my lines lately. He seems to think I've been doing it deliberately to make Sheila Mitchell look bad. But he's wrong. Have you found out anything yet, Johnny?
No, not much.
I still can't believe there's anything to it. It's so silly to let it upset me. Silly even to give it a thought.
Well, try not to, Amy. Let me worry about it.
All right. Did I ever tell you it's nice having you around, Johnny?
I left her dressing room and started for the alley door, but somebody stepped out in front of me. It was Mike Pomeroy.
Hello, Dollar.
Oh, hi, Pomeroy.
I was just talking to Dave Coleman, the director. He told me he was the one who sent for you. He told me why.
You didn't know about the threatening letter Amy got?
No, I didn't. Look, Dollar, every actress I've ever known has gotten at least one note like that during her career.
You don't think this should be taken too seriously, then?
No. Amy's pretty nervous these days, and as long as you're around stirring things up, she'll be worried about it. If there's anything to be done about it, I can handle it.
In other words, you want me to mind my own business, that it?
You said that, Dollar. I didn't. It might not be a bad idea.
Funny thing, when somebody tells me to lay off a case, my interest in it always doubles. After the final curtain, I went backstage to wait for Amy. The stage door was open, and I could see Porter Kane waiting in the alley outside. So I went over to him.
Well, Mr. Dollar, good evening.
Hello, Kane. On duty again tonight?
Perhaps that's one way of putting it. I thought I might have a little chat with Amy after she's changed.
I'm afraid she has a date.
Oh? Do you happen to know with whom?
Yeah, me.
Mr. Dollar, are you suggesting that I'm to regard you as some sort of rival?
Not at all, Kane. I'm just suggesting that I'm a friend of Amy's.
I see. Good night, Mr. Dollar.
After Kane left, I stood beside the stage door and tried to figure out some of the angles on this case. There were too many of them. By the time I went in, the theater was dark, except for a dim light bulb over the stage, and everyone had gone. Everybody, that is, except Amy. I ran into the darkened theater. She was standing horrified next to the stairway by the dressing rooms, her eyes fixed on something that lay on the floor.
Johnny, I was on my way out to meet you. I heard it swish through the air. This heavy sandbag, it barely missed me. Oh, Johnny!
Stay back against the wall, Amy. You'll be okay there. I climbed the long ladder up to the catwalk above the stage where they sometimes use the sandbags to balance hunks of scenery. It was dark up there. I started edging along the catwalk. Suddenly, my foot hit a loose board. I almost lost my balance. A loose board that could have been left for me. And it was a long, long drop down to the stage. Whoever had been up there knew the theater pretty well. Finally, I went back down to Amy. She was trembling.
Johnny?
It's okay, Amy. It's okay.
Johnny? Maybe I didn't take it seriously before, but I do now. Somebody dropped that sandbag from up there deliberately. Somebody is trying to kill me, and I'm scared, Johnny. I'm scared.
Johnny Dollar will be back in a moment to tell you about tomorrow's episode. Friends, send for your set of some of the most exciting toys of the year. 6 giant inflatable toys for only $1. Some up to 3 feet tall. You get Bounco the Happy Clown, Hoppy the Australian Kangaroo, Roscoe the 2 feet long roller skating bear, Whitey the fat indoor snowman, Mortimer the giant mouse 18 inches long, and last but not least, the great giant talking Santa, a roly-poly giant over 3 feet tall and 32 inches around the belly that actually says Merry Christmas out loud when you pull the tape. That's 6 sensational giant toys for only $1, made of sturdy, gaily colored latex that the kids can easily inflate. Send $1 for each set to Giant Animals, Box 1730, Grand Central Station, New York City. And if you order right now, you get Peter the Rabbit over 2 feet tall absolutely free. If not delighted with your giant animals, your money refunded immediately. Order today. You may never hear this offer again. Rush $1 plus 10 cents for packing and mailing in cash, check, or money order to Giant Animals, Box 1730, Grand Central Station, New York City. That's $1 plus 10 cents for each set with your name and address to Giant Animals, Box 1730, Grand Central Station, New York City. Now, here's our star to tell you about tomorrow's episode of the Amy Bradshaw Matter.
Tomorrow, a man steps onto the stage from out of the past and into a role he doesn't want to play. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by Robert Reif, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives and become one of our friends on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Detectives. Before we do get started, I want to remind you, as you're making your summer travel plans, a very simple way to support the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio is going to JohnnyDollarAir.com. JohnnyDollarAir.com is a Priceline affiliate, so you get all the advantages of Priceline. And I just ask that you check there first as you make your travel plans. If you find a good deal, then you're able to get that deal, and part of your purchase goes to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. So remember, when you're planning your travel, think JohnnyDollarAir.com first. Well, now it's time to get into today's episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. This one is the Amy Bradshaw matter. And I know these have not been programs that have had sponsors. They've been sustained. Well, now we get actual sponsors, and so we will have commercials, which I know is a highlight for many fans, but I'm not certain it'll be on this program. Anyway, let's take a listen. Amy Bradshaw matter. Welcome back. Well, these have to be some of my least favorite commercials. I did put in a note to Andrew to have it because so that we only get a grand total of 2 commercials in these half-hour blocks. So when I heard the first time that you may never hear this offer again, I was like, I wish that were true, but I think we'll have this just for a couple weeks, so it's definitely part of radio history. All right, well, on to listener comments and feedback.
I love your voicemail. Adam, this is Lisa. I just finished listening to today's download, and the pronunciation of the composer is Dmitri Shostakovich. Also, I have a request. I wonder if you would consider changing the order of the Friday podcast so that Johnny Dollar is first. You made the comment today that we have some control over what order we listen to things in, and so I do that, but every single week what I do is I fast forward to the middle of the podcast, listen to the Johnny Dollar and your comments, and then I have to rewind to the beginning and listen to whatever the other thing is. I'm sure I'm not the only one who can't wait to hear the Johnny Dollar. Sometimes I don't listen to whatever the first thing was that you play, although I liked the most recent one, whatever it was, something about a reporter. But I don't even remember because I'm just so desperate to get to the end of Johnny Dollar because that cliffhanger has really got me hanging. I'm sure I'm not the only one in there, but I cannot listen to whatever the first thing is you're playing on Friday because I just want to hear what's happening to Johnny. Okay, thanks so much. I really love your show. I've been a long-time listener. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
All right, so let's go ahead. We have an email here, or a voicemail. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this voicemail now.